You think I'll let you zone?
Baka.
Alright, I'm gonna try and see if this gets hit by the age restriction bot, but what are you gonna do? Senran Kagura Burst Renewal was developed by Tamsoft, Marvelous, Meteorize, and Honey Parade Games and released February 22nd, 2018 in Japan and January 22nd, 2019 on PS4 and Steam in the Western Hemisphere. Burst Renewal was actually a remake of the first two games from 2011 as Senran Kagura Striking Shadows, and the reissue with new content and story as Senran Kagura Burst in 2013, which came to the West on 3DS. The first two games were 3DS exclusive and were side-scrolling 2.5D beat-em-ups. With the 2019 remake of Burst, the gameplay was revamped into a 3D beat-em-up gameplay style like Shinobi Versus and Estival Versus. Can the girls at Hanzo Academy keep the ninja world safe and a secret from the general public, or will the evil shinobi get what they want and rule the world through power and fear? Time to gear up and get schooled. The story is a little unique on how it's structured, as there is the main plot and self-contained side stories that involve the characters that doesn't move the plot forward, which can be a little off-putting, but we start with an alternate reality where shinobi are real and are divided into two factions. Good shinobi, who are sanctioned by the state and work with the government, and the evil shinobi, which are basically mercenaries offering up their services if you have the money for it. We start our story at Hanzo Academy, where the shinobi of today train and keep hidden from the citizens as the shinobi students learn as regular students in disguise. Asuka was having a dream but was woken up by Kiryu Sensei, because how will she become a master shinobi if she sleeps through lessons, and the reason is to help protect the Super Ninja Scroll, which is a powerful ninja art, and Asuka hopes one day she can read it, but Kiryu Sensei tells Asuka and her friends that they will be having ninja training on the roof of the school. After the training, Asuka comments if she's the first to finish and is corrected that she's one of the last ones, along with Hibari. Later, Hibari is upset that she lost her ninja scroll, so Asuka decides to help her look for it before class starts. It turns out a delinquent had it in town, and Asuka gives it back to Hibari and tells her to keep it in a safe place on her. Later, Asuka gets her wallet stolen and chases after the thief, only for another girl to stop them and gives her wallet back, calling her Jugs. Asuka gets pissed because that's not her name, and the other girl goes by Homura. She tries to make friends with the free meal, but Homura declines, then leaves. Later, the Hanzo girls prepare for attacks from evil shinobi, and Hibari alerts them to one that is in the area attacking currently. Asuka finds out Homura is an evil shinobi. Homura wants to take the super secret ninja scroll simply to become more powerful because she will become the strongest shinobi. Asuka tries to tell her strength by training is the way to go, but Homura states strength by any means is the motto at Hibijo. After the fight, Asuka wonders if she won, but Homura says that she let her win to see how strong Asuka was, and she is still too weak to give her a good fight. Later, Asuka is still wondering on how to get stronger with training, but Homura returns for another invasion for the scroll. But this time, in overwhelming numbers, Ikra and Kat show up to even the odds. After the battle, Homura wants a 1v1, but will play by Asuka's rules and pick a place where no others will get involved. Hibijo wants to have 1v1s across different areas, with Kagura fighting Yume, who has a grudge against the princess. After the fight, Kagura couldn't really damage Yume and is exhausted, but the real plan was to buy time. Next is Kat versus Hikage, a girl who doesn't show any emotions. Kat is excited that she gets to fight a strong opponent, but Hikage doesn't understand why she's so excited. Kat sees she doesn't really want to fight, but Hikage says bye, then runs, prompting her to chase after Hikage. After chasing her down, Hikage says that there are other ways to see how strong she is instead of fighting. But Kat states she is a challenge that she must overcome, and that is the reason she fights. But talking won't work, so fights might. After the fight, Kat wants to be friends and understand each other, but sees that Hikage is being a sore loser. Hikage says that she didn't lose and she doesn't understand emotions, but Kat will see soon why she said she didn't lose, then runs away. Next is Yaoi versus Mirai, but Yaoi doesn't have time to entertain her, which pisses Mirai off into attacking the other, and they start to fight. After the fight, Yaoi is only worried about Hibari and leaves Mirai, who vows revenge. Hibari vs Haruka is next, and Hibari wonders if she got the place wrong until Haruka shows up and states that Hibari is cute because of her skittish impression that she has, that she wants to continue to tease her. After the fight, Hibari thinks that she won, but Haruka says that that was just a doll that she beat, as she could never be beaten by a screw-up like her, but they will continue this later. Last is Asuka versus Homura, and Asuka wants to know why she's doing all of this, and Homura says that they're from rival schools. Isn't that enough of a reason to fight? Wars happen all the time for less. After the fight, Homura says that Jugs did get a little bit stronger, but is that all her training was good for? Homura asks, so why does she want strength? To protect what is precious to them. And Homura asks, is she willing to do anything for that, even off her, to protect something precious? Because if she can't, she will keep coming back and it will repeat the process over and over. So if she can't do it, then Homura will finish her eventually. Later, Hibari steals the super secret ninja scroll and takes it to Hibijo to avenge what happened to Yagu, but it was all a trick by Haruka to get the scroll from her by making a puppet of her instructor and telling her to take it to the enemy stronghold. No real shinobi would have ever believed that story. After the fight, Haruka says that Hibari got stronger, but she wanted the scroll, not to win the fight. So basically, since Hibari stole the scroll, she will become an Hibijo student and her minion. Asuka and Kat find Homura and ask where Hibari is, and she says that she will join them, which they don't believe her, but Homura says she doesn't care whether they believe her or not because the scroll should be all they need to know as power starts to surge. Haruka and Hibari are training at Hibijo, and Hibari is wondering if she's doing all of this just to see if she can be trusted, and it's a maybe. Hibari wants her to listen, but at Hibijo, if you want someone to listen, you have to beat them. After the fight, Hibari wants to know why she's going easy on her using just puppets. Haruka for once wants a comrade rather than a puppet. The other girls are her friends, but they're more like sisters in arms. She would like at least one normal friend. She pretends that it was just a joke to tease Hibari, but Hibari is just confused and doesn't really believe what she said was a joke. Later, Asuka tries to sneak into Hibijo to get Hibari after finding her location to rescue her, but Hibari says even after what she did, but Asuka says that friends help each other no matter what. They leave and return to Hanzo, as Hibari says that why do they have to fight Hibijo when they do the same things as us, like eat, sleep, and do homework and play? There has to be another way. Asuka says that she wants special training with Sensei so she'll be able to take back the scroll from Homura. After some training, Hibari talks to Asuka to see if there's anything else they can do but fight to the death. The only option is to fight and exchange emotions to understand each other better. After eating at Asuka's family restaurant, Homura asks Asuka what does she want from being a shinobi, and Asuka doesn't really know besides following her grandpa's teachings of the sword and shield, even though she doesn't really understand it yet. Then Asuka says she wants to protect those she cares about from the shadows, and Homura asks why. Justice is its own reward and she doesn't need praise to do good. Homura says she's just like her gramps on the front line trying to protect his friends. Homura wants to be a shinobi as proof that she's alive with walking the line of life and death. Later, Asuka trains to use the Yin Scroll to have a shot at taking down Homura in her next clash. She tries to understand what it means to be alive as a shinobi and taps into the power of the Yin Scroll. And with this, they truly can fight as equals. The girls face each other in a 1v1 to decide who wins this fight and train to make sure they are the victor. While infiltrating Hibijo, Asuka is trying to find Homura for the fight. Kat and Hikage are still the same, saying that she is just spouting off things she doesn't understand. After the fight, Hikage actually cracks a smile and feels refreshed. Hikage asks to shake hands like Kat did before after the first loss, and Kat tells her to sit and rest, they can talk later, but Hikage dies as she leaves. Next is Hibari versus Haruka. Hibari doesn't know why they are fighting when they were friends, and Haruka asks if that's all she says, then they can get ready to fight. After the fight, Hibari didn't want to gravely injure Haruka and offers first aid, but Haruka tells her to not worry about a girl who can't follow the rules at her school. Hibari tells her to stay still and she will be back after this is all over. And Haruka says those who lose have to die, but she wanted to be friends with Hibari as well. Next is the Princess versus Yume. Yume's trying to rile Kagura up with backhanded compliments when told to step aside. Yume blames her family for not helping people in her city that need charity instead of some country that they don't go to, and that she was an orphan that they could have helped instead. Kagura wants to apologize for not helping more, but Yume doesn't want to hear it. After the fight, Kagura learns that Yume's parents sold themselves for money to leave an inheritance for when she was older because they went missing when she graduated elementary school. But instead of using the money for herself, she gave it to the orphanage, because as long as she's an elite Hibijo shinobi, tuition and lodging will be covered. Kagura feels bad and should have known about Yume, but Yume says what would have changed if she knew, so just leave already. And she's filled with regret because she lived her life hating a person who wasn't evil or mean and died. Next is the rematch between Yarguru and Mari, with Yarguru focused on getting the scroll back from Homura. She doesn't have time for fights she can avoid. Mari says fine, but she will not be ignored this time. After the fight, Mari finally has her attention even if she's about to die, and Yaru can't really say anything about it. Finally, it's Asuka versus Homura, and Homura feels a little sad that her friends are dead now, but she will avenge her comrades and prove she didn't make the wrong decision on choosing strength instead. Asuka sees that Homura's determination has made her stronger, so she should match that strength as well. After the first round, Asuka comes out on top and took back the Hanzo secret scroll, but Homura's power keeps growing as the fight isn't over just yet, and the girls tap into their true potential for one more clash. After the fight, Asuka doesn't like that this was the only way to settle things. Homura is satisfied that Asuka was the one person stronger than her. While reflecting on her friends, Asuka says that Homura was her strongest friend. It's not over as the desires of Homura push for the resurrection of Orochi the snake. As Asuka faces it alone, she puts everything she has into a final strike and kills the monster. From the rebel is the sun, and Asuka makes it out with both ninja scrolls, and every one of her friends help her back down from the mountain. Before Asuka and the girls leave, they see figures on the mountaintop, believing them to be Homura and her friends. Is it really okay to just let them go like this? But Asuka says that it's complicated, but they will deal with them if they act out again. As Asuka screams that the next time she meets Homura, she'll be stronger as the girls return to Hanzo Academy. The current gameplay of Senran Kagura Rebirth is a bit different from the original and expansion on the 3DS, where they were 2.5D beat-em-ups, where the remake takes combat from previous games like Shinobi Versus, where it's a 3D beat-em-up with combos, but the routes are a little simpler from those versions because they are relegated to styles this time around. If you wanted to change the combo route for a girl, you run, jump, and aerial rave your way through waves of enemies, seeing the hit counter go up. Don't be worried as you level up your character. During the story and other missions, they will gain increased stats and have access to supers depending on how many ninja scrolls you have on you and the level they're at. To access the super, you'll need to transform first, which costs 1 scroll, but on the plus side, your health refills if you're in a pinch. Then there is Burst, where you can go on the assault without having a launcher effect at the end of a combo to keep comboing the target or targets. If you use it on a boss and they are within killing range, the finisher will get a special animation stripping them of all their clothes. During the story, you take control of one of the girls for that mission or boss fight and continue to swap to get a taste for all playstyles, but it's a bit favored to some because they will be at a higher level than others. But don't worry, as you're able to go back to any beaten level at any time and choose the other characters to play as and level them up as well, then continue with the story. Outside of the main campaign, there are collectibles around the stages that unlock things for purchase in the store, like costumes, CG images from the stories, character themes, and battle music. While you can have fun just mashing the light attack into heavy launcher, then aerial rave, it seems a step down from Estival Versus, but it's a prequel game. Frantic mode also returns, and for those who are wondering what the hell that is, basically it's hard mode in the sense that you gain a boost in attack, but defense is sacrificed, so you lose health faster, and your finishing combos don't launch an aerial rave. Oh, and the girls will be fighting in their underwear the whole time. Each stage has a ranking system based on how fast, longest combo, least amount of hits you can get depending on the difficulty, and to get better than any rank you have to beat it in frantic mode for like A+. Senran Kagura Burst Renewal is a good remake with the budget they were working with at the time, but to me in certain areas it feels like a downgrade, even though if you want to play the first game, you can with the PC or PS4 versions instead of trying to hunt down the 3DS version of the game. There are also unlockable characters in the game like Instructor Rin from Hibijo and the eternal senpai Daidoji, who doesn't want to graduate until she finds a strong shinobi to satisfy her need for battle. Also, since this is a remake of Senran Kagura Burst, there is a what if scenario story of being the Hibijo students with some differences on how the story played out for an extra 4 hours of story, which if you play both stories it comes out to around 9 to 10 hours for the most part. It's okay even though it's mostly the same overall story, but at least you get to spend more time with the Hibijo girls. I delayed it long enough, but if you care about uncensored versions of games, then get the PC release on Steam, as everything from the Japanese release is there. For people who don't know what I'm talking about, Marvelous took the diorama mode from the English PS4 release out, where you can dress up the models in outfits and look at them. But that's not all, you can also mess and tease them, like smack them on the ass, and they will react to it. It was an unnecessary censorship when around that time Nintendo had a whole dating sim with that concept uncensored, so it was a head scratcher when it was removed for renewal. There's also DLC characters, but it was more so what such and such character was doing around the time of the first game, because originally there was only 12 characters at the time. Senran Kagura Burst Renewal is a fun game and an easier way to experience the first entry if you can't get the 3DS version or a 3DS and love the versus style combat. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good enough remake to play, but you can see where they cut corners to make an even better definitive version to play, and I'm talking about the PC version, which is just a port of the Japanese PS4 version. If you want to play this entry, I would advise to wait for a sale, as it regularly sells below $15 on PC markets when there's a sale. But that should do it for this game review, as this took a bit to get through after all this time of recording, but stay gold, and I'll see you in the next video.